Good morning and welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you? I'm tired. Well, how come? I thought you'd never ask. So, hey, thank you for coming to the party last night in our backyard. It was loads of fun, and I had a very good time. I hope you did too, who attended. Food was great. Bruce was an amazing chef. He did it all by himself. I was supposed to help, but I didn't. So he pulled it off by himself. He should be on the payroll. You're a keeper. Um, anyway, so Eric was supposed to speak today. We had it planned that way because I do not like to speak after events. On Saturday, I go in the zone. So all week I think about my talk, and on Saturday I go in the zone, and then I'm there, and then I never really emerge from the zone before I come here on Sunday. Well, news for you. Yesterday, I didn't even make it into the zone, let alone stay there. So today, I thought I'd dress really pretty because it's all I'm bringing. It's all I'm bringing to this party today. So I hope it's going to work, dazzle you. Um, Eric, his plans changed. He was supposed to speak today. His plans changed. And he said, well, I can't speak. So I switched with him. And here we go. Here we go. The title is Ready, Set, Go. And I thought it would be a very fitting and good talk for the beginning of a church year. Because, setting intention is very important. Without intention, you still go places. It's just like you don't know where you're going to go or why. And then when you got there, why are you there? So intentions are very important, are important in your own personal life, my personal life, and it's important for the life of our church. So I thought it would be a great idea to talk about it. And it would have been. It really would have been. So anyway, somebody asked Warren Buffett to define success. And this was fairly recently. And so you would think that he would say that, have a huge portfolio, be really successful, amount a lot of money, gather, have a lot of money and power. And that's not what he said at all. He said, if by the age of 60, 65, the people who are around you, like the most important people, your family, your closest friends, if they love you, you lived well. So if they love you, if they care about you, you're successful. And that made me think, because I, like probably many of you as well, think of success in the things that you can show off. You have the fancy car, the bank account, the whatever, status. And it's not that. And he said, I know so many incredibly rich people. They have so much money and they are so miserable and nobody likes them. Nobody likes them. If you think that's success, you need to think again. Nobody likes them. So there's that. Intention setting. It's possible that this talk will be a little bit choppy, but I'll try to bring it together nonetheless at the end, okay? So buckle up or buckle in. Was it 1967 that the Russians sent the Sputnik up in space? 57. That's it, 57. Thank you. I knew it was 7 and 19. I got one of the numbers wrong, so pretty close then. It was 1957. The Russians sent Sputnik in space, and it was a big to-do. It made news, right? I wasn't around, but I know it made news. And prior to that, the US was so, well, it knew that it was a superpower. And it was comfortable being a superpower. And it had great influence on the rest of the world. And they didn't, Congress just thought developing space program, it shouldn't be our first priority. There's other things that we can fix or that we need to address, you know? So they kept voting it down. They kept voting it down. So there was no support for any space program. And then, boom, there's Sputnik in space. And it's the Russians who sent it up, our enemies, the Russians. So then fear, of course, hit. And Congress started voting yes, all kinds of monies. Let's throw it at NASA. And let's start developing our own space program. So although the Russians were the first ones to send something up in space, the US ended up being the first one to put a human being on the moon. And the Russians nearly went bankrupt trying to keep up with their space program to be you know, when you competitive, that's the word, competitive with the US. Thank you. That's very interesting to me, right? Because there's a couple of ways to go about your future. A, you think about like, oh, why am I here? What do I really want to do? And then what kind of steps do I need to take to get to where I want to go? That's one way to do things. The other way is also true, is like, maybe I don't really think so much about why am I here? But then I try to keep up with the Joneses. So the reason I kick in gear is to keep up with the Joneses. So they put somebody in space. There's fear that they will outspace us. And now we are going to do something big too. And sure, there is the accomplishment. There is definitely a competition that was won. But I think the intention matters. I think why you do something is just as important as how you do. Because when you get there, it's just a different, it's calibrated differently. The feeling, the experience is calibrated differently. Japan. Japan is the only country on earth that had two, not one, but two atom bombs dropped on it. So after the Second World War, Japan was devastated more than any other country that was involved in the Second World War. And it is true that after the war, the US really helped Japan. They put in think tanks who were supposed to help Japan. And the reason they helped Japan, or we helped Japan, because the fear was, if we don't, the Russians will. And then Japan will become communist. And with that, the communist bloc will grow and expand. And we can't have that. Another decision based on fear. But apart from the fact that the US had really helped Japan after the Second World War, there was another thing that played a huge part in Japan becoming who they are today. Their leaders sat down and they said, okay, here we are. This is the lay of the land. Like, we couldn't be any lower. This is the worst of the worst. It's not just that we didn't come out as winners in this war, we are the biggest losers. So what can we do now? Like, are we going to wallow? Are we going to stay here? Is this it for us? Are we going to just depend on handouts from the US and the rest of the world? Or what could we do? And what could we do considering also that this is the lay of the land? So they brainstormed and they decided that the one thing they could do, well, they can't have an army, right? The one thing they could do, one way that they could become a superpower, but definitely a significant player in the world, is if they develop technology. So from then on, all the decisions that they made was directed towards technological development. And they had a goal in mind, like how soon, in how many years, they would become technological leaders in the world. And they did that in less than half time. From having 2 atom bombs dropped on them to technological superpower. It's because they set an intention. And from then on, everything they did, they considered, will these steps that we take lead us in that direction? If they will, good. If they won't, we'll discard them. They made mistakes along the way. They really had to figure out their banking system. But every decision they made was in support of that intention. And today, they are a tremendous technological superpower. So it took time, it took commitment, it took a dream. Definitely. It started with a dream. A dream that the rebels did not it didn't seem like it's possible, right? The rebels wouldn't allow for that sort of dream. And yet they had a dream, and then everything they did in that direction. It worked. China. In about, I think, 6 years ago, and I don't quote me, okay? Like, I'm not willing to. In Hungarian, there's a saying: if you're very certain about something, you say, I'm willing to put my hand in fire. I'm not willing to do that over this, okay? Like, But I think it was about six years ago, they had a big, they have these big meetings, and they set the 5-year goals, and however the Communist Party runs. We used to have that back in the day when I lived in Transylvania. So President Xi said that he recognized that AI is the future. And he decided that whoever conquers AI, whoever makes the biggest discoveries and the biggest developments and progress in the world of AI, they will rule the world. And being a communist autocratic country, he therefore was able to direct all resources in that direction. So prior to that decision, the research and development budget was like 12% a year. And after that, it was 90. So they directed all resources, 90% of their budget went towards research and development, R&D. And look at them today. The thought was before, the belief was about the Chinese that all they do is they're copycats, that they don't have original ideas. They just copy what others do and they might improve on that, but they don't have original ideas. Well, it turns out that when you direct 90% of your budget towards R&D, you actually do come up with original ideas. They have outpaced the US many years ago in producing PhDs in science and technology. So they produce a lot more PhD students than we do. In fact, than the rest of the world. They have a lot of very original ideas. And in fact, as I understand it, and again, my hand ain't going in the fire for this, but as I understand it, in quantum computing, they are making enormous gain over the rest of the world. And quantum computing is the direction that the smart ones things we need to go in, and China is way ahead of the world. Now, of course, there is a problem that the Chinese had the law where they couldn't have children. There was a limit on how many children each family could have. And because of that, their population is so small now that they don't have workers. They don't have workers, not even in their 40s anymore. So they can't replace the older workers, which is a problem across the globe. But in China, it's particularly bad. But of course, now that they are producing more and more robotics, they are thinking that they might be able to cope with this deficiency, with the human deficiency. Again, it is an intention that is set with the vision. Of course, the vision goes first, intention next, and then every decision you make after that is in support of that vision or dream and the intention. And it matters. It matters because it sets the trajectory, it sets the direction. And then, of course, when you get there, there is satisfaction because, well, you worked on your own dream, and because, you know, you honored your own intention, and you were able to stick with it. Now, none of this means that there are no mistakes, that there is no need to every now and then redirect and refocus. But overall, you have a guiding principle that gets you from A to B. I'm sure that there are many, many other examples around the world to support this that I am trying to convey, that it matters. It matters why we do things. It matters, you know, life happens anyway. The days, you know, go by, the months go by, the weeks go by, the years go by anyway, whether we set intention or not. And our bodies are such that because life wants to live, we will live. And then why not set intention? Why not set a goal and then go in that direction? Here at UUCC, our beloved community, we also set intention. Well, of course, the intention for the year and the intention for the greater you, is to put love at the center. I think it always has been. We have just called it now. We're naming it. But here we said, what have we got here in this community? And we thought, okay, we love our principles. We love our values. We think they're good. We think they're so good because they're supporting life, because we think that if the larger community would share these values and these principles, we think that the larger community would look different. It would be more equitable. There would be more compassion, more kindness, equality. Human rights would be respected. But wait, not only human rights, but the planet would be better off. We think these values are really good. So because of that, we thought it would just make sense to spread our message beyond the walls of this building and to make our reach larger than those of you who are coming in here Sunday after Sunday and special event after special event. So we decided that because we love these values and these principles and we stand by them, like we're serious about it, we're committed to them, we see the point, then we want to grow this community. We don't want to grow it for the sake of growing it, because like who can get excited about that? But we want to grow it because we love the message. It changes people, therefore it changes the world. It transforms it, makes it better. So because of that, we started focusing our decision making to support this intention of growing this community. So we decided that we need to grow our social media presence, that we need to advertise things very differently than we have done before. We hired a consultant, a top-notch consultant to help us map the way. We recruited volunteers. We need to recruit more. There was enough love that we had an anonymous donor who donated a lot of money to make this intention into a reality. It matters. And we are noticing a difference. We are seeing numbers that are changing. So it's all very encouraging. And then we are also learning as we are walking on this path that is new to us. And sometimes we have to refocus and redirect. And then sometimes we give ourselves a little pat on the shoulder. Well done. That worked out good. So it matters. It matters for us as a community. And it matters for us as individual human beings. Set the intention. So think about it. A, you're never too old. You're never too young. Sometimes you might be a bit too tired. But think about it. What fulfills me? Like, what would it be that I wouldn't be tired in the morning to get up for? What is that? And you're worthy of that. You deserve that. So make every decision consciously to support that thing that you're happy to spring out of bed 4 in the morning. And then sometimes, you won't do it. You won't succeed. That's when you redirect, you forgive yourself, and then do it again and again and again. It's like this. It's America. There's no public transportation here, right? That's the reality. So if I took you to a car lot and there are all these amazing cars there, and I tell you, pick the one you love the most. Any, you can have any. No price tag, it's yours. Pick it, it's yours. And then you go, you're excited. Oh my God, I'm getting a car. It's the one I want. And then I'll tell you, but there's one catch. This is it for the rest of your life. This is the only car for the rest of your life. Of course, it's not true, but we're just playing. How would you treat that car? It's the last one for the rest of your life. How would you treat it? Pretty good. I think you would change the oil on time. I think you would take very, very good care of it. Well, if you know what's good for you, because there's no public transportation in America. Not very good anymore. You would treat it pretty darn good. That's your body. You got one for the rest of your life. Set the intention for that. That's your body. That one big dream. Treat it like that. Like it's precious, like it matters. Like it's the one that can take you places that you really want to go to. And then don't resign yourself to less than. Don't create stories that you can't do it, you won't do it. It's not for you. Like when it doesn't happen, don't say, oh, I didn't really want it anyway. Find another angle. Be honest. We don't make our dreams happen because we got issues. And then instead of dealing with the issues, we create well, I want you to watch this thing. Joel's gonna play it.
It's just, there's all this pressure, you know? And sometimes it feels like it's right up on me and I can just feel it, like literally feel it in my head, and it's relentless. And I don't know if it's going to stop. I mean, that's the thing that scares me the most, is that I don't know if it's ever going to stop.
Yeah. Well, you do have a nail in your head.
It is not about the nail.
Are you sure? Because, I mean, I'll bet if we got that out of there.
Stop trying to fix it.
No, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm just pointing out that maybe the nail is causing.
You always do this. You always try to fix things when what I really need is for you to just listen.
See, I don't think that is what you need. I think what you need is to get the nail out. Okay, fine. I will listen. Fine.
It's just, sometimes it's like there's this achy, I don't know what it is. And I'm not sleeping very well at all. And all my sweaters are snagged. I mean, all of them.
That sounds really hard.
It is. Thank you. Ow!
Oh, come on. If you would just
Don't.
Try to see things my way.
The things Is it on? Is it? Okay.
It's just, there's all this.
Now we just can't even stop. So I have a friend. I know somebody. And they have issues. I have some issues too, but I don't want to talk about that. But they have issues. And they are one of their issues is when they ride in many issues, but one of them is when they ride in a car with somebody, they're very anxious. So they want the driver to 100% accommodate to their anxiety. And that's a difficult solution they came up. Instead of working on self, they thought, oh, I know what I want to do. I'm just going to let you work around my problems. And that's a bad strategy, if you ask me. Because if the person they're with has low commitment to work around their problems, their anxiety is jacked up. If the person has high commitment to work around their problems, both their anxieties are jacked up. So it's just not a good solution. So we have nails. And sometimes we don't even acknowledge that we have a nail sticking out. Everybody else sees it. I walk around with it. Sometimes people tell me and we tell them, no, that's not my problem. And then instead of dealing with the nail, we like build a helmet around it to accommodate, to protect our issue. I was just talking to somebody recently and they smoke. And I always tell people who smoke, you got to quit that thing. And they tell me, but you don't understand. I can't concentrate if I don't smoke. There's the helmet around the nail. No, you have a problem. You got to address that. And then you'll find out that, of course, you can concentrate. But right now, you're using that as an excuse to keep the nail. But what does that excuse then do? It gets you off, away from your intention, away from how you really want to see yourself, where you really want to be. So of course, you got to be honest about your issues. Then you got to commit to work on them. Because if you don't work on them, it is going to be an uphill battle to get to where you want to be. And you got to commit. So you got to be honest, you got to commit. And if I may suggest one more thing, don't do anything out of fear. Do it out of love. If you want to quit smoking, drinking, gambling, don't do it because you're afraid you're going to get cancer, cirrhosis, or end up bankrupt. Do it because you love yourself enough to bring yourself back to health, physically, financially, whatever it takes. Being motivated by love always trumps being motivated by fear. So let me bring it home for you. Maybe we can get out of the choppiness of this talk and bring it home to you. Just know that success might not be what you always thought it would be. That success, in fact, is that we love each other. Success is that we care for one another. And if we achieve that, that is success. And then if we live that way, that's good for the planet, that's good for everyone. Setting an intention, just dreaming about like, what do I want and why do I want it? Matters. And then, once you figure that out, start focusing your decisions in a way that it will support that outcome. And please, do it out of love. Just do it out of love. And that is the highest form of faith. So I wish that upon you and upon me. And so it is, and thank you.